crowd gathers where the work of the day has thinned, not drawn by spectacle, but by a quiet pull that has followed him from village to village. Some come from fields with dust still on their hands. Others step out from doorways, pausing mid-task, unwilling to ignore the murmur that has been moving through the towns. They settle where they can, along paths, near stone walls, beneath the open sky, forming no clear boundary, only a shared attention. He stands among them without ceremony. There is no effort to claim the moment, no signal that something remarkable is about to be said. And yet the air changes, not abruptly, but steadily, as if weight has been added to it. The ordinary sounds do not disappear. They recede. Footsteps slow, voices quiet. The gathered ones sense that what is about to be given will not demand urgency, only presence. He speaks of the kingdom of heaven, not as a place to be reached by distance, nor as a future event waiting to arrive, but as something already pressing close, already touching the edges of their lives. His words do not unfold like instruction. They arrive like recognition, as though naming something many have felt without knowing how to speak of it. The kingdom, he says, is like a mustard seed. The image is small enough to pass unnoticed. No one needs to ask what it looks like. They know it by touch, by weight, by how easily it slips between fingers. A seed that can be lost without effort. A seed that carries no sign of what it will become. He does not pause to elevate it. He allows its smallness to stand unprotected. A man in the crowd thinks of his own fields. How often such seeds vanish into the soil without ceremony. A woman remembers sweeping her floor, brushing away what seemed like nothing at all. A child listens, sensing only that something tiny has been named with care. The seed is planted in a field, not displayed, not measured, placed into the earth and covered over. The ground closes around it, and it disappears from sight. Nothing marks the moment. No sound follows it into the soil. To anyone watching, the field looks unchanged. He does not rush past this burying. He lingers there, letting the darkness of the soil carry its meaning. The kingdom does not begin in visibility. It consents to being hidden. It allows itself to be placed where no one is watching, where nothing seems to happen. Some in the crowd shift uncomfortably. Others lean in. The idea unsettles and reassures at once. A beginning that cannot be observed offers no proof, yet it also asks for no defense. It simply is. Time passes within the telling. Days move. Nights follow. Rain comes and goes. The field is walked across, worked, ignored. The seed remains unseen, and yet it does not remain unchanged. Something within it responds to what it has been given. The pressure of the earth, the presence of moisture, the slow warmth of the sun. None of this is dramatic. All of it is faithful. The seed breaks open, not in violence, but in yielding. What it was gives way to what it is becoming. A root reaches downward. A shoot presses upward. Both movements occur in darkness. No witness marks the moment. The field keeps its silence. Those listening begin to feel the weight of this unseen labor. Many have known seasons like this. Times when effort seemed unacknowledged. When growth could not be pointed to or proved. The telling does not resolve these memories. It dignifies them. The shoot emerges, pale at first, fragile, easy to overlook. It does not dominate the field. It does not yet serve a purpose others can name. It simply stands as evidence that what was buried has not been wasted. Days continue. The plant strengthens, roots deepen, anchoring what rises above the surface. The stem thickens, branches spread. What began as something easily dismissed becomes unmistakable. The mustard plant grows larger than expected, reshaping the space around it. Paths adjust. Sight lines change. What once seemed insignificant now demands notice, not by force, but by presence. The kingdom, he implies without stating it directly, grows like this. It does not argue for its importance. It does not defend its right to exist. It becomes what it is meant to be, and the world around it responds. Birds come. They arrive without invitation, drawn by what the plant has become. They settle into its branches, finding shelter where none had been planned. Nests form. Life gathers. The plant bends under the weight, but it does not resist. It was grown to hold more than itself. The listeners feel this turn of the story settle among them. Growth was not the end. Shelter was always part of the purpose. What rose from the soil now serves others, not by intention, but by faithfulness to its own becoming. Silence follows. Not the silence of confusion, but of recognition. Some feel comfort in it, others feel exposed. A kingdom that begins small, grows unseen, and ends in responsibility, leaves little room for spectacle. It asks instead for patience, trust, and a willingness to become something that must hold others. He does not explain further. The parable stands on its own weight. Seed, soil, growth, shelter. The crowd remains, knowing that something has been set before them that will not leave easily. The field of the telling lingers in their minds, and beneath its surface, the quiet work continues. The parable does not loosen its hold when the words stop. It settles into the gathered ones and remains there, working its way inward. Some shift their weight, as though the ground beneath them has altered slightly. Others stay very still, not wanting to disturb whatever has begun. He does not move on quickly. The kingdom he has named is not something to be skimmed across. It presses close, not loudly, but insistently, asking to be considered. The field and the seed linger, and with them the quiet unease of beginnings that cannot be monitored. What is small, he makes clear, is not insignificant. It is merely unprotected. The smallest thing is easily lost, easily dismissed, easily trampled underfoot by those who look only for what already stands tall. Yet smallness in his telling is not weakness. It is freedom from attention. It is room to take root without interference. Some in the crowd think of efforts abandoned because they appeared too modest to matter. Others think of words once spoken and forgotten, kindnesses unnoticed, prayers that seem to fall back unanswered. The parable does not judge these memories. It gathers them. The kingdom, he continues, does not announce itself with boundaries or markers. It does not divide the land and claim one portion as its own. It enters the world as quietly as a seed enters soil, trusting the conditions it finds, rather than demanding they be made suitable. This unsettles some. They have been taught to look for certainty, for signs that can be pointed to and defended. A kingdom that grows without permission, without oversight, without visible structure, feels dangerously elusive. And yet it also feels near, closer than anything they have been taught to wait for. He speaks of nearness without defining distance. Not here as opposed to there. Not now as opposed to later. The kingdom presses against ordinary life, touching the edges of work, family, routine. It is not reached by leaving these things behind, but by seeing them differently. A woman at the edge of the gathering lowers her eyes. She thinks of her home, of tasks repeated day after day with little variation. Could such a place hold anything of heaven? The thought unsettles her, then steadies her. If the kingdom enters quietly, it may already be nearer than she assumed. A man near the center tightens his jaw. He has waited for something decisive, something unmistakable. A kingdom that arrives unseen feels like a risk. How does one commit to what cannot yet be proven? The parable offers no reassurance, only invitation. He does not attempt to persuade. He allows the discomfort to remain. The kingdom, as he describes it, does not rely on agreement. It grows whether it is noticed or not. It responds to faithfulness, not certainty. He returns briefly to the image of the field, not to restate it, but to deepen it. Fields are not chosen for their drama. They are chosen for their capacity to receive. They are worked slowly, season by season, knowing that nothing can be rushed without loss. The kingdom, too, unfolds at a pace that resists command. Those listening begin to understand that the parable is not about size alone. It is about trust in processes that cannot be forced, about honoring beginnings that do not impress, about releasing the need to manage what must be allowed to grow. The air feels thicker now, not with heaviness, but with the tension. No one interrupts, no one asks for clarification. The words are not fragile. They do not need defending. They settle where they will. He speaks of recognition, that some will see and others will not because the kingdom hides itself selectively, but because seeing requires a particular posture. Not striving forward, but bending down. Not claiming, but receiving. Not controlling, but consenting. This thought lands unevenly. Some feel relief in it, sensing that their own lack of forcefulness has not disqualified them. Others feel challenged, realizing how tightly they have held their expectations of what heaven must look like. He does not describe outcomes. He does not promise ease. Growth, he has already shown, involves pressure, time, and surrender to conditions not of one's choosing. The seed does not negotiate with the soil. It enters it fully or not at all. The gathered ones sit with this. They begin to sense that the kingdom is not a thing to be observed from a distance, but a reality that involves them, implicates them, asks something of their patience and their trust. The world around them continues as it always has. Somewhere, a door closes. Footsteps pass along a road. A voice calls out, then fades. None of this interrupts the moment. It belongs to the same world the kingdom enters, not a separate one. He allows the thought to stand without further shaping. The parable has already done its work. It has reframed their sense of beginning and end, of significance and obscurity. What comes next will build upon this, not replace it. The seed has been planted in them as well, and like all seeds, it will take time to show what it has begun. The moment holds, charged but unresolved, moving them forward, not with urgency, but with gravity. And within that gravity, the kingdom remains near, unseen, unannounced, already at work. The thought of beginnings does not loosen its grip. It presses further, widening rather than resolving, and the crowd senses that what has been named cannot remain contained within a single image. The field and the seed have opened a way of seeing, and now that way begins to stretch outward, touching more of what they know. The kingdom, as it has been set before them, refuses to be grasped all at once. It does not submit to a single comparison. It gathers meaning by accumulation, by echo, by the slow layering of truth upon truth. What was planted in the first telling begins to branch. He speaks again of growth, not as a concept, but as a lived reality. Growth that is not observed moment by moment, but known only in retrospect. Growth that asks for patience not because it is weak, but because it is alive. The smallest beginning, once set into motion, is not static. It is already becoming. Some of those listening think of years measured not by events, but by endurance. Seasons when nothing seemed to change, yet something quietly did. Others feel resistance rise again. They are accustomed to outcomes that can be tracked, effort that yields visible return. A kingdom that unfolds without timetable feels unsettling. The image of the mustard plant remains before them, no longer as a story, but as a lens. They see it now, in the margins of their own lives, in the overlooked, in the unremarkable, in the things dismissed too early to be named as beginnings. He does not correct their thoughts. He allows them to wander, to make their own connections. The kingdom is not imposed by explanation. It is recognized by resonance. He speaks of how what grows often outpaces expectation, not by excess, but by fidelity. The mustard plant does not strive to be large. It simply grows as it must, responding to what has been given. Its size is not ambition. It is consequence. This distinction matters. Some in the crowd have confused growth with striving, strength with force. The parable quietly dismantles this assumption. What becomes great does so by remaining true to its nature, not by grasping beyond it. The listeners feel this correction land gently but firmly. It reframes how power is understood, not as dominance, but as presence, not as visibility, but as capacity to hold. The plant stands now in their imagination, no longer fragile. Its branches spread wide enough to change the field around it. It does not erase what grows nearby, but it does alter the conditions. Shade appears where there was none. Shelter becomes possible where there was exposure. This change is not neutral. It affects others. He allows this implication to surface without comment. Growth carries responsibility. What begins small does not remain private. What is allowed to grow will eventually be encountered by others, whether intended or not. Some in the crowd feel the weight of this. They have thought of faith as something contained, managed, personal. The parable suggests otherwise. What takes root will shape the space it occupies. It cannot help but do so. The thought unsettles and steadies at once. Growth is not merely about fulfillment. It is about consequence. He does not soften this. The birds that come to the branches do not ask permission. They arrive because the plant is there. Shelter invites use. Strength invites reliance. The kingdom, once grown, does not belong only to those who first received it. The listeners sense a widening now. The parable is no longer only about origin. It is about outcome. Not a future outcome, but a natural one. Growth that remains inward, unseen forever, is not the kind he describes. The kingdom, though it begins hidden, does not remain closed in on itself. This raises unspoken questions. What happens when others depend on what has grown? What if the branches bend too far? What if the weight becomes too much? The parable does not answer these questions. It simply states what is. The plant does not choose which birds to hold. It does not distinguish between those that arrive early and those that come late. It offers what it has become. The kingdom, he implies, will do the same. Some in the crowd feel relief in this impartiality. Others feel threatened by it. A shelter open to all cannot be controlled. It cannot be curated to preserve comfort. Growth of this kind resists ownership. He allows the discomfort to remain. The kingdom is not designed to preserve familiarity. It is designed to live. The gathered ones begin to understand that the parable has shifted their expectations. What they thought of as safety, smallness, containment, predictability, is revealed as only a beginning. The true shape of what grows will require trust beyond the first planting. The world around them continues without interruption. Work will resume. Paths will be walked again. Fields will be tended. Nothing outward has changed, and yet the frame through which these things are seen has been altered. He does not insist on immediate understanding. He knows that what has been given will continue to unfold, branching into thought and action long after the moment passes. Growth does not end when the story does. The listeners sit with the weight of it, sensing that the kingdom is not merely something they are invited to enter, but something that, once entered, will expand beyond them. The image holds, the plant stands, the branches remain open, and beneath all of it, the same quiet truth persists, that what begins in obscurity, if allowed to grow, will one day shape the world around it in ways that cannot be undone. The weight of what has been given does not disperse. It settles deeper, pressing past the surface of thought into something slower and more deliberate. The kingdom, as it has been described, resists being reduced to a lesson. It lingers as a reality that must be lived with, carried forward into the ordinary rhythms that await each listener once the crowd thins. What grows, he has made clear, does not grow for itself alone. The branches that spread outward alter the field. Shade changes where people walk. Shelter changes where creatures gather. The presence of what has grown begins to shape the decisions of others, often without intention. Growth, once it reaches beyond its beginnings, becomes part of a shared landscape. This truth settles unevenly among those gathered. Some feel encouraged by it, sensing that their quiet faithfulness might one day offer rest to others. Others feel the unease of responsibility pressing in. A kingdom that grows inevitably will not remain safely contained within personal boundaries. He allows this tension to stand. He does not resolve it by reassurance or command. The kingdom is not shaped by comfort, but by truth. The image of the mustard plant begins to take on a fuller dimension. It is no longer only a symbol of unexpected growth. It becomes a measure of scale, a way of understanding how something once dismissed can come to occupy real space. Not abstract space, but ground that others must now navigate. Those listening think of the world they know, of power that announces itself loudly, of influence that demands recognition. The parable offers a different pattern. What grows quietly often endures longer than what arrives with force. What spreads by necessity, rather than by design, reshapes more deeply than what is imposed. He speaks of how the plant's growth does not erase what surrounds it. Other things continue to grow nearby. The field does not belong solely to the mustard plant, yet its presence cannot be ignored. The kingdom, he suggests, does not annihilate what already exists. It reorders it. This distinction matters. Some have feared that the coming of heaven would require the destruction of what is familiar. Others have hoped it would confirm what already holds power. The parable resists both expectations. What grows introduces change not by violence, but by proximity. The birds remain part of the telling. They do not represent conquest or reward. They represent need. They come because they must. The plant becomes significant not because it seeks influence, but because it offers what is required. This challenges many of the assumptions held by those listening. Value, as they have learned to measure it, often follows visibility and control. The kingdom follows a different economy. It is recognized by the way others find rest within it. He does not romanticize this. Shelter is not always tidy. Nests leave traces. Branches bear weight unevenly. Growth that welcomes life will experience strain. The kingdom, as he presents it, does not promise ease. It promises presence. Some in the crowd shift again, this time not from discomfort, but from recognition. They have known responsibility that arrived without invitation. They have carried burdens they did not seek, simply because they were present when need arose. The parable affirms these experiences without naming them. The kingdom does not wait for readiness. It grows, and those near it are drawn into its consequence. He does not describe how the plant feels about this. He does not grant it intention or preference. It simply is what it has become. Growth, once realized, cannot retreat into its beginning. The seed does not return to the soil. The plant does not choose to shrink. This truth presses forward. What has begun in them, if it is truly of the kingdom, will not remain hidden forever. It will take shape. It will be encountered. It will require response. The gathered ones feel the seriousness of this, though no one speaks it aloud. Faith, as he has described it, is not merely assent. It is participation in something that expands beyond individual control. He allows the silence to hold this thought, but not to soften it. The kingdom is gentle in its beginning, not in its effect. Its gentleness lies in its refusal to coerce, not in its refusal to change what it touches. The world beyond the gathering remains unchanged in appearance. Roads will still be walked. Fields will still be worked. Houses will still be entered and left behind. Yet the frame through which these movements are understood has shifted again. Growth is no longer imagined as optional. It is inevitable once the seed has taken hold. Those listening sense that they are being asked, not directly, but unmistakably, to consider what kind of growth they will allow and what kind of shelter they are willing to become. He does not ask them to decide now. He knows that decisions formed too quickly often fail to endure. The kingdom does not rush commitment. It reveals itself until commitment becomes clarity. The parable reaches its fullness not in explanation, but in consequence. What began as something small now stands as something that cannot be ignored. It has altered the field, welcomed the birds, and changed the conditions of everything nearby. The listeners remain with this image, understanding that it is no longer only a story. It is a pattern they will begin to recognize again and again, in their own lives and others, in places where quiet faithfulness has outgrown expectation. The plant remains standing in the imagination, rooted and expansive. The seed that began it is long forgotten, yet its humility continues to shape what now exists. And within that enduring shape, the kingdom presses onward, not as an idea to admire, but as a reality that insists on being lived with. What has taken root does not withdraw again into explanation. It presses forward, drawing the gathered ones deeper into its implications. The image of the plant, now fully grown, does not fade. It stands where it stands, altering the space around it simply by existing. And with it comes the unavoidable truth that growth invites encounter. The birds do not arrive by accident. They come because the branches are there, because shelter has formed where once there was only open ground. Their arrival is not celebrated in the telling, nor is it framed as reward. It is necessity meeting provision, life responding to what is available. This detail carries weight. The birds are not part of the plant's intention. They were not imagined when the seed was placed into the soil, yet they belong to the story now, inseparable from what the plant has become. Growth, once realized, draws others into its orbit, whether consent is given or not. Some of those listening recognize this immediately. They have known moments when their own growth, hard-won and unannounced, suddenly became visible to others. When strength discovered privately became strength relied upon publicly. The parable names this without praise or warning. It simply states what follows. The branches bend, not because they are weak, but because they are alive. They yield under weight without breaking. They learn the shape of what they carry. The plant does not reject the birds. It does not tighten itself to preserve form. It holds. This holding is not passive. It requires resilience. Shelter is not effortless. It demands endurance from what offers it. The kingdom, in this image, is not portrayed as fragile kindness. It is portrayed as steady capacity, the ability to remain rooted while bearing what comes. The gathered ones feel the gravity of this. Many have assumed that faithfulness ends with growth, that once something has taken shape, the struggle is finished. The parable quietly overturns this assumption. Growth is not an end. It is a threshold. The birds make their nests. Life begins again within the branches. A movement continues. Sound enters the space. What was once silent becomes inhabited. The plant stillness now exists alongside activity. It did not initiate and cannot fully control. This does not diminish it, it fulfills it. The kingdom, as it has been described, does not exist to be admired from a distance. It exists to be inhabited, to be leaned upon, to be trusted by those who have nowhere else to rest. Its success is measured not by how impressive it appears, but by whether others can live within it. This realization unsettles some. A shelter open to all cannot be curated. It cannot choose who arrives or how long they stay. It cannot preserve its original form once others depend on it. The kingdom, in this sense, resists ownership. He allows this unease to remain unsoftened. The parable does not promise control. It promises consequence. Some in the crowd feel relief at this. They have grown tired of measuring themselves by outcomes they cannot manage. Others feel exposed, sensing that what they have nurtured quietly may soon demand more of them than they anticipated. The birds do not ask permission to arrive. They do not inquire about capacity. They come because need has met provision. The plant does not calculate whether it can afford to hold them. It simply does what it has grown to do. This is not sentiment. It is structure. Growth shapes responsibility, whether it is welcomed or not. The gathered ones begin to sense that the kingdom, once allowed to take root, will inevitably draw them into lives beyond their own. Not through command, but through proximity. What becomes strong becomes relied upon. What offers shelter becomes a place where others remain. The image stretches now beyond comfort. It reaches into daily life, into homes where patience is required, into work where integrity has consequences, into relationships where faithfulness makes one available to others' needs. The parable does not enumerate these places. It does not need to. Each listener supplies their own. He does not instruct them on how to manage this responsibility. He does not offer strategies for preserving strength or limiting demand. The kingdom, as he presents it, is not optimized. It is faithful. This faithfulness does not guarantee ease. Branches that hold weight experience strain. Shelter that welcomes life becomes marked by it. Growth that alters the landscape cannot return the field to what it was before. The listeners sit with this, feeling both the invitation and the cost. What begins quietly will not remain private. What grows faithfully will eventually be encountered. The kingdom does not ask whether one is ready to be seen. It reveals itself when it has become what it is meant to be. He does not rush them toward agreement. He does not demand commitment. He allows the reality to stand on its own. Those who can receive it will. Those who cannot, yet will carry it until they can. The world around them continues. Somewhere, someone calls out. Somewhere else, work resumes. None of this interrupts the truth unfolding among them. The kingdom does not suspend ordinary life. It enters it. The image of the branches remains, filled with quiet movement. Birds come and go. Nests hold. Life rests where it can. The plant stands, rooted and enduring, not because it seeks significance, but because it has remained faithful to its growth. And within this image, the gathered ones begin to understand that the kingdom is not something to be visited. It is something that, once grown, others will enter. What began as a seed has become a place. The image does not fade when the telling pauses. It widens, carrying the gathered ones beyond the field and into themselves. What has been described is no longer only something observed. It has begun to reflect. Growth, shelter, consequence. These things press inward, asking not for agreement, but for reckoning. Some feel exposed by this, though nothing has been demanded of them aloud. The kingdom has been named in ways that leave little room for abstraction. It is not distant. It is not symbolic only. It has weight. It touches the ground. It alters space. And it does so without apology. What grows quietly, they now understand, does not ask whether it should be noticed. It simply becomes visible when the time has come. The seed does not announce its emergence. The plant does not seek recognition. It stands where it stands, and the world adjusts. This adjustment is not always welcome. There are those among the gathered who have learned to survive by remaining unseen. They have kept their faith small, contained, manageable. A kingdom that insists on growth feels dangerous. If it grows, it may be seen. If it is seen, it may be tested. If it is tested, it may cost something. The parable does not deny this cost. It places it alongside purpose. What is given room to grow will eventually require room to exist. The field does not remain neutral once the plant reaches maturity. Shade changes patterns of movement. Shelter alters where life gathers. The presence of what has grown becomes unavoidable. Some recognize this pattern from their own histories. Quiet convictions that, once matured, demanded action. Commitments that could no longer remain private once they shaped decisions that affected others. The kingdom, as it has been described, does not remain an interior possession. It takes form. He allows this recognition to deepen without interruption. There is no effort to redirect it toward comfort. The kingdom does not grow in order to preserve ease. It grows because it is alive. The birds remain in the image, though they no longer feel incidental. They have become central. Need draws them. Dependence binds them to the branches. The plant's growth has created a place where others now live. This is not portrayed as triumph. It is portrayed as reality. Shelter invites presence. Presence invites demand. Demand reshapes what offers it. The plant is not diminished by this. It is fulfilled by it. The kingdom, too, is fulfilled not by remaining unburdened, but by bearing what comes. Some among the listeners feel relief at this naming. They have long wondered why faithfulness seemed to draw difficulty rather than ease. The parable does not explain suffering away, but it places it within purpose. Growth that matters will be encountered. Others feel resistance. They have hoped that maturity would bring rest, not responsibility. That growth would lead to arrival rather than expansion. The kingdom disrupts this expectation. Arrival, in this telling, is not an ending. It is an opening. The gathered ones begin to understand that the parable has quietly dismantled certain assumptions, that the kingdom does not culminate in safety, but in service. That strength is not measured by insulation from need, but by capacity to hold it. This understanding does not arrive all at once. It settles unevenly, taking hold in some places, while passing lightly over others. He does not force its landing. He allows it to rest where it will. The world around them continues without pause. Someone passes nearby, unaware of what has been spoken. A door opens and closes. Work resumes elsewhere. None of this contradicts what has been given. The kingdom does not interrupt ordinary life. It inhabits it. What grows does not suspend the rhythms of the world. It enters them. The plant, now fully imagined, stands within a living field. Wind moves through its branches. Birds shift and settle. Life continues, layered and complex. Nothing is static. Nothing is simplified. This complexity matters. The kingdom is not a single moment or decision. It is a living reality that unfolds over time, drawing others into its consequences. It cannot be reduced to a declaration or contained within a boundary. Those listening sense that the parable has changed how they understand faith itself. Not as belief held privately, but as life lived publicly once it has taken root. Not as possession, but as presence. He does not ask them to commit. He does not tell them what to do next. He knows that what has been planted will continue to work without instruction. Growth does not require constant attention. It requires conditions that allow it to continue. The moment holds, weighty and unresolved. The kingdom has been named in ways that cannot be undone. It has been placed among them, not as an idea to admire, but as a reality that will begin to press against their lives. The seed has grown. The plant stands. Shelter has formed. What remains now is not explanation, but response, one that will emerge in its own time, shaped by the same quiet faithfulness that brought the kingdom this far. The movement does not stop with what has grown. It turns inward, slipping from field and branch into places less visible, where change cannot be charted by height or span. The gathered ones feel the shift before it is named. What has been spoken about space and shelter now presses toward interior ground, toward the work that cannot be observed from a distance. The kingdom is likened to leaven, not displayed, not measured out carefully for effect, taken and worked into what already exists until it disappears from sight altogether. The image is immediate to those listening. It belongs to daily labor, to hands that know weight and texture, to time shaped by repetition rather than spectacle. 3 measures of flour are brought together, enough to feed many, enough to require patience. The leaven is folded in, pressed and turned, until it can no longer be distinguished from what surrounds it. There is no moment that marks when the leaven ceases to be itself. It is absorbed, given over entirely to the work it has been given to do. This detail matters. The leaven does not sit beside the flour. It does not remain intact. It does not retain a visible identity. It enters fully, trusting that what it carries will be released only through surrender. The kingdom, in this telling, does not hover near life. It enters it. Some listening feel discomfort stir at this point. A growth that can be seen from a distance allows room to step back. A change that happens from within offers no such distance. Once the leaven is hidden, there is no clear boundary between what was and what is becoming. The work is quiet. No sound accompanies it. No sign announces progress. The dough rests. Time passes. Nothing appears to happen. To an impatient eye, the labor might seem wasted. Yet those who know the work understand that this stillness is essential. Disturbing it too soon ruins what has begun. The kingdom, as it is being described, resists inspection. This unsettles those accustomed to visible markers of faithfulness. They are used to signs that can be pointed to, named, defended. Leaven offers none of this. It accomplishes its work without leaving a trail. It transforms not by force, but by presence. Others feel relief. They have labored quietly, unseen, uncertain whether anything they carry matters. The image dignifies hidden work. It affirms change that unfolds without recognition. The kingdom does not measure value by visibility. The dough begins to rise. There is no dramatic moment when it starts. It is noticed only when the change is undeniable. What was dense becomes light. What was heavy gains air. The entire mass is altered, not in pieces, not partially, but wholly. Nothing remains untouched. This is not addition. It is transformation. The gathered ones feel the weight of this distinction. The kingdom does not merely improve what exists. It changes its nature. The flour does not remain flour. It becomes something capable of sustaining life in a new way. What the leaven touches cannot return to what it was before. Some feel a tightening in their chests. Change of this kind does not ask permission. It does not preserve familiar shapes. It carries risk. Once begun, it cannot be reversed without loss. The image does not soften this. It names it. The woman who works the dough does not hover over it anxiously. She does not press it again and again to confirm progress. She knows that time is part of the work. Control would undo what patience allows. The kingdom, in this image, is not anxious about outcomes. It trusts the process it has entered. This trust challenges many of those listening. They are accustomed to effort that produces immediate result, to actions that can be evaluated quickly. A kingdom that asks for faith in unseen change presses against their habits. Yet others recognize themselves in the waiting. They have lived through seasons when nothing could be shown, yet something was undeniably changing. The parable does not require them to justify those seasons. It names them as faithful ground. The dough rises fully, not partially, not unevenly. The whole is leavened. The work that began hidden has reached completion without ever drawing attention to itself. The leaven is never seen again, yet its presence is unmistakable. Everything bears its mark. The gathered ones sense that this image has carried them beyond the field. Growth that can be seen invites admiration. Transformation that cannot be seen invites trust. The kingdom moves through both, but the latter leaves no room for pretense. What has been leavened cannot be separated into what was changed and what was not. The transformation is total. This realization settles slowly, heavily. The kingdom does not adjust one part of life while leaving the rest untouched. It presses toward wholeness. Some resist this. They have learned to compartmentalize, to allow faith into certain spaces while guarding others. The image does not accommodate such division. Leaven does not respect boundaries. It spreads until it reaches everything. Others feel an unexpected freedom in this. To be changed fully means no longer maintaining separate selves. The kingdom offers integration, not performance. What it touches, it transforms completely. The air feels charged now, not with urgency, but with depth. The gathered ones sense that the images are moving closer to home. Field and branch allowed room to observe. Dough and leaven do not. They describe change that happens where no one else can see it first. The world around them remains unchanged. People pass. Work continues. Nothing outward marks what has been spoken, and yet something has been folded into them that will continue its work long after the moment ends. The dough rests, risen and ready. The image holds without instruction. No action is demanded. No explanation is offered. Those listening understand that this kind of change cannot be rushed, displayed, or defended. It can only be lived with, trusted, and allowed to finish what it has begun. The kingdom has moved from field to body, from growth seen to change hidden. It has named a work that does not ask for permission or recognition. It simply enters, transforms, and leaves nothing untouched. And within this knowing, the gathered ones feel the quiet weight of something already underway. What has been hidden does not announce when it is finished. It simply reaches a point where its effect can no longer be denied. The gathered ones sit with this truth, feeling how the image of leaven presses beyond comfort into clarity. Change that works unseen offers no place to stand apart and evaluate. One discovers it only by noticing that what once was no longer is. The kingdom, as it has been set before them, does not ask to be examined while it works. It resists being managed. The flour did not decide where the leaven would go. It received it, and in receiving it, surrendered the right to remain unchanged. This surrender troubles some of those listening. They are willing to grow, perhaps even to be seen growing, but to be altered at the level of substance feels dangerous. A plant can be pruned or shaped. Dough that has risen cannot be returned to flour. The kingdom, in this telling, does not offer reversibility. He allows this tension to deepen. The woman who worked the dough did not seek transformation for its own sake. She sought bread, nourishment, sustenance. The leaven was not the goal. The feeding of others was. Change occurred because it was necessary for life to be given. This reframes what has been heard. Transformation is not indulgence. It is service. What is changed becomes capable of nourishing where it could not before. The kingdom, he implies, is not concerned with personal refinement alone. It presses toward life shared. Those listening feel this shift land slowly. Growth and change are no longer abstract virtues. They are bound to responsibility. What is leavened is meant to be broken, given, consumed. Transformation leads outward, not inward. Some feel relief in this clarity. Change that serves life feels grounded, purposeful. Others feel resistance again. To be changed for the sake of others removes the illusion of control. One cannot determine who will be fed, how much will be taken, or whether gratitude will follow. The parable does not address these concerns. It simply states what happens. Dough that rises is not admired. It is used. This truth carries weight. The kingdom, once hidden within, will eventually be encountered through what it produces. Words may remain few, visibility may be limited, but effect will emerge. Those changed will become sustenance for others, whether they intend to or not. The gathered ones sense the narrowing of illusion. Faith is no longer presented as interior agreement or visible success. It is presented as availability, to be worked into, to be transformed, to be given. The air feels still again, but the stillness now carries edge. The images have moved close enough to touch daily life without metaphor. Fields, branches, dough, these are not distant symbols. They belong to hands, bodies, labor. Some shift, aware that what has been named will not remain theoretical. Others sit straighter, sensing a strange steadiness enter them. If the kingdom works like this, then their unseen faithfulness has not been wasted. It has simply not finished yet. He does not rush to the next image. He allows the gathered ones to feel the full implication of what has been given. The kingdom grows. The kingdom transforms. And the kingdom feeds. Nothing about this is dramatic. There is no signal moment when one becomes something new. There is only the quiet realization later that one can no longer return to what one was. The world around them continues unchanged, yet the frame through which they understand it has shifted again. Fields are no longer just fields. Work is no longer just work. Waiting is no longer empty. What is hidden is not idle. The leaven has done its work. The dough has risen. What comes next will not be decided in this moment. It will be decided wherever life demands nourishment. The gathered ones remain, knowing that what has been spoken will not release them easily. It will surface in time, in action rather than declaration. And in that knowledge, the kingdom rests among them, unseen, complete, and already pressing outward toward what must follow. What has been spoken does not seek closure. It continues its work by remaining present, pressing quietly against habit and expectation. The gathered ones sense that the movement has not slowed, only shifted. The kingdom, having been described as growth and transformation, now presses into the space of waiting itself. Waiting is not empty here. It is not delay caused by uncertainty or lack. It is a posture shaped by trust. The seed waits in soil because it must. The dough waits because interference would undo what has begun. The kingdom, in every image given, advances by allowing time to complete what intention alone cannot. This unsettles those who have learned to equate waiting with failure. They have been taught to measure faithfulness by visible progress, by motion that can be defended or displayed. A kingdom that sanctifies waiting challenges these instincts. It asks them to reconsider what it means to be active. He does not describe waiting as passive. He does not elevate stillness for its own sake. He shows waiting as participation in a process that cannot be rushed without loss. The seed that is dug up too soon dies. The dough that is disturbed collapses. Faithfulness in this telling often looks like restraint. Some in the gathering recognize this immediately. They have lived through seasons where the only faithful action was to remain, to not abandon what had been entrusted to them, to hold steady while nothing appeared to change. The parables do not resolve the ache of those seasons. They dignify them. Others feel impatience rise again. They want clarity, outcome, direction. They want to know what comes next. The kingdom, as it has been described, does not respond to urgency with speed. It responds with depth. The weight of this becomes apparent. What has begun will finish, but it will do so on its own terms. The seed does not consult the farmer before breaking open. The leaven does not ask when it may complete its work. The kingdom moves with authority that does not require explanation. This authority is not coercive. It is inherent. It comes from alignment with what is true rather than from force. The gathered ones sense this distinction, though few could yet articulate it. Power that does not shout unsettles those accustomed to contest. He allows the tension to deepen. Waiting, in this telling, is not a test imposed from above. It is the natural shape of life being formed. What is alive cannot be assembled instantly. It must be grown. The crowd begins to understand that the parables are not merely descriptive. They are formative. They are reshaping how time itself is understood. not as something to be conquered or optimized, but as something to be inhabited faithfully. Some shift their gaze downward, considering the patterns of their own lives. Where have they rushed what required patience? Where have they abandoned what had not yet shown its fruit? The kingdom presses gently against these questions without demanding immediate answers. He does not instruct them to wait longer or better. He simply reveals that waiting is already part of the work. To remain present to what has been planted is not inaction, it is cooperation. This reframes effort itself. Action is no longer defined by motion alone. There is action in not uprooting, action in not interfering, action in allowing something to mature beyond one's control. The gathered ones feel both the relief and the cost of this understanding. Relief, because they are not required to produce what only time can give. Cost, because patience demands trust without proof. The kingdom, as it has been presented, asks for this trust not once, but repeatedly. Every stage requires release of control. The seed releases itself to the soil. The plant releases its branches to the birds. The dough releases its form to transformation. Waiting is the thread that binds these movements together. This thread does not fray. It holds. The world around them offers no confirmation of what has been spoken. No sign interrupts the moment. Work continues elsewhere. Life moves on. Yet within the gathered ones, something has shifted. They are beginning to see that what matters most often unfolds beyond immediate recognition. He allows the stillness to thicken again, not as a pause between ideas, but as part of the teaching itself. The kingdom, in its patience, does not rush to the next comparison. It lets the weight of what has been given settle fully. The gathered ones remain, not because they are instructed to, but because leaving too quickly would feel like interruption. The waiting itself feels purposeful now, charged, full. They sense that what comes next will not replace what has already been said. It will deepen it. The kingdom does not discard its earlier movements. It builds upon them, layer by layer, until recognition becomes unavoidable. Waiting, then, is not a holding pattern. It is alignment. It is staying with what has been entrusted long enough for its nature to be revealed. The parables have not told them what to do. They have shown them how things grow, how things change, how things endure. The rest will be worked out not in this moment, but in lives that continue beyond it. The gathered ones sit within this understanding, aware that patience itself has been reframed. No longer a concession to weakness, it has become a mark of participation in something larger than themselves. And within that participation, the kingdom remains active, unseen, unhurried, faithful, continuing its work even now. The movement shifts again, not away from what has been named, but deeper into its consequence. Growth and waiting have shaped the ground. Transformation has altered substance. Now attention turns to recognition, the moment when what has been hidden presses suddenly into awareness. The kingdom is likened to treasure buried in a field, not placed there for discovery, not arranged to be found, simply present, long concealed beneath the surface of ordinary ground. The field is not remarkable. It is crossed without ceremony, worked without expectation. It belongs to the rhythm of daily life, familiar enough to pass through without thought. A man walks across it. He is not searching. He carries no map, no intent to uncover what lies beneath his feet. His movement is incidental, shaped by routine rather than desire. The moment arrives without preparation. His step strikes something firm. He stops, not because he expects wonder, but because resistance demands attention. He bends. The earth gives way beneath his hands, and what has long been hidden meets the light. The parable does not linger on description. The treasure is not cataloged or measured. Its worth is assumed, not argued. Recognition arrives whole, immediate, unmistakable. This matters. The man does not debate what he has found. He does not weigh its value against alternatives. He knows. The recognition is complete enough to reorder everything that follows. This is not curiosity. It is clarity. Those listening feel the sharpness of this turn. Unlike the seed or the leaven, which require patience to perceive, the treasure confronts without delay. What was invisible becomes undeniable in an instant. The kingdom, in this telling, is not only something that grows quietly, it is also something that, once seen, cannot be unseen. The man covers the treasure again, not out of fear, but out of care. What has been revealed must be protected until it can be claimed rightly. He does not gather others to witness it. He does not announce his discovery. He acts with deliberate restraint, understanding that recognition alone does not secure possession. He goes and sells all that he has. The parable does not soften this. It does not frame the selling as tragic or reluctant. It names the man's joy. The letting go is not loss weighed against gain. It is reordering. What once held value is released because something greater has been found. This joy unsettles the gathered ones. They are accustomed to sacrifice being framed as pain endured for future reward. This is different. The man does not grit his teeth. He does not look back. The clarity of what he has seen makes the exchange inevitable. What is surrendered no longer competes for allegiance. Some feel a tightening at this point. They sense the implication immediately. Recognition of this kind does not permit partial response. It does not allow one to keep the treasure alongside everything else. It demands decision, not because it is demanding, but because its value redefines all others. Others feel a strange relief. To release what no longer compares is not deprivation. It is freedom from divided loyalty. The parable does not romanticize loss. It renders it irrelevant. The man buys the field. This detail matters. He does not steal what he has found. He does not claim exception. He secures the place where the treasure lies. The kingdom, in this image, is not seized by shortcut or force. Recognition leads to rightful claim, even when the cost is total. The gathered ones feel the weight of this integrity. The parable does not endorse cleverness or opportunism. It affirms commitment. What is found worthy reshapes behavior, not merely desire. The treasure remains buried for now. The parable ends without unveiling it again. The man's future is not described. The joy is not elaborated. The moment of recognition and response is sufficient. Everything essential has already been shown. This unsettles some who want to know what comes next. What does the treasure do? How does it change the man's life? The parable refuses to satisfy this curiosity. It understands that the point is not outcome, but orientation. The kingdom, in this image, is not discovered through seeking alone. It is encountered unexpectedly within ordinary movement. It interrupts routine without warning. Yet once encountered, it demands everything, not by force, but by worth. Those listening begin to sense how this image completes what has been unfolding. The seed speaks of beginning. The plant speaks of growth. The leaven speaks of transformation. The treasure speaks of recognition that collapses delay. Waiting has its place. Hidden work has its season. But there comes a moment when what has been forming unseen demands response. The kingdom does not remain content to be merely present. It calls for alignment once it is recognized. The gathered ones sit with this, aware that such recognition cannot be manufactured. It cannot be forced or scheduled. It arrives when it arrives. But when it does not permit neutrality. The field remains ordinary to everyone else. Nothing about it announces the treasure beneath. Those passing by see only ground to be crossed, soil to be worked. The man's joy remains his own, rooted in knowledge that does not require validation. This detail presses into the listeners. The kingdom, once seen, does not require consensus. It does not depend on public confirmation. It reshapes the life of the one who has encountered it, regardless of whether others recognize what has changed. The parable leaves them here, at the edge of decision without instruction. It does not command them to sell or surrender. It simply shows what happens when something of incomparable worth is encountered. Recognition leads to joy. Joy leads to release. Release leads to rightful belonging. The moment holds, sharp and clear. The treasure remains hidden. The field remains unchanged. Yet everything for the one who is seen is now different, and within that difference, the kingdom presses closer, not as growth still forming, but as value revealed, asking not for admiration, but for response. The clarity of recognition does not fade when the story pauses. It sharpens. What has been revealed does not drift back into abstraction. It settles with weight, demanding to be carried forward. The gathered ones feel this difference immediately. The parable of the treasure has not invited contemplation alone. It has drawn a line that cannot be easily stepped back across. Joy, as it has been named, is not gentle here. It is not decorative. It is decisive. The man's joy does not express itself in celebration or speech. It expresses itself in action that leaves no remainder. Everything he possesses is placed into motion by what he has seen, not because he is commanded to do so, but because holding anything back would fracture the clarity of his recognition. This is not impulse. It is coherence. The kingdom, in this image, does not compete for allegiance among many others. It absorbs allegiance entirely. The man does not balance his old life alongside the treasure. He does not attempt integration. He allows the greater value to reorder everything beneath it. Some listening feel the force of this immediately. They have long divided their lives carefully, preserving space for faith while guarding other spaces against intrusion. The parable makes such division appear unstable. Once something of supreme worth is known, compartmentalization becomes impossible. Others feel resistance rise sharply. They sense how much such clarity would cost them. The man's joy exposes the illusion that surrender is always painful. It reveals that pain often comes not from letting go, but from clinging to what has already lost its claim. The parable does not argue this point. It shows it. What once defined the man's life becomes currency, rather than identity. Possessions lose their power not because they are evil, but because they are eclipsed. Value is not destroyed, it is reordered. The kingdom, in this telling, does not despise what came before. It simply surpasses it. The gathered ones feel the quiet severity of this truth. Nothing is condemned. Nothing is shamed. And yet nothing is preserved simply because it is familiar. Recognition makes preservation for its own sake unnecessary. The treasure remains hidden even after it has been claimed. This detail presses deeper now. The kingdom is not validated by display. The man's joy does not depend on others seeing what he has found. His life changes whether anyone else understands why or not. This unsettles those who rely on shared affirmation. They are accustomed to decisions being reinforced by agreement. The parable strips this away. The kingdom does not wait for consensus. It calls for faithfulness that may appear unreasonable from the outside. Some feel the loneliness implied here. A path shaped by recognition may separate one from those who have not seen. The parable does not deny this cost. It simply places it beneath the greater weight of joy. The field remains the same to every other passerby. The man walks across ground that has not changed in appearance. His actions may seem excessive, even foolish. He does not defend himself. He does not explain. The treasure does not require justification. This matters. The kingdom, once encountered, does not invite debate. It invites alignment. Those who have not seen are not argued with. Those who have seen do not need to persuade. Each life moves according to its recognition. The gathered ones begin to sense how this parable differs from the others. Growth and transformation unfold over time. Recognition compresses time. It gathers years of searching, waiting, and forming into a single moment of clarity. What follows is not gradual adjustment, but decisive movement. This does not diminish patience. It fulfills it. The man's prior life is not wasted by this moment. Everything he possessed becomes the means by which he secures what he has found. The kingdom does not erase the past. It repurposes it. What once served lesser aims is gathered into a greater one. Some feel hope in this. Their histories, fragmented and unfinished, need not be discarded. They may yet be gathered and offered wholly when clarity comes. The parable leaves room for this without promise or guarantee. It simply shows what is possible. He does not say that everyone will find such treasure. He does not say that everyone who finds it will respond in the same way. He does not universalize the story. He tells it as it is. This restraint gives the parable its force. It does not coerce identification. It allows recognition to do its own work. The silence that follows is no longer gentle. It is charged, not anxious, but alert. The gathered ones feel that something irreversible has been named, not demanded of them, but placed before them as reality. What if such recognition were to come? What would be released? What would be secured? These questions rise unspoken, pressing inward. The parable does not answer them. It leaves them open, knowing that answers formed too quickly rarely endure. The treasure remains buried. The field remains unchanged. The man's joy remains complete. The kingdom, in this telling, is not something added to life. It is something that, once recognized, becomes life's center. Everything else rearranges itself around it, not by coercion, but by clarity. The gathered ones remain still, sensing that another image will follow, one that speaks not of sudden discovery, but of long pursuit. Recognition does not always arrive unexpectedly. Sometimes it is the culmination of years of seeking. The moment holds, balanced between what has been revealed and what is yet to be spoken. Joy has been named. Cost has been shown. Clarity has been allowed to stand without explanation. And within that clarity, the kingdom waits, ready to be recognized again, this time by those who have searched for it with patient devotion. The weight of recognition does not diminish as the next image takes form. It widens, stretching across a different kind of life, one not marked by sudden interruption, but by long attention. What has been revealed as treasure, discovered now, appears again as treasure sought, and the gathered ones sense that the kingdom is being approached from another direction without contradiction. The kingdom is likened to a merchant, not one who wanders aimlessly, but one whose life is shaped by discernment. His days are ordered by evaluation, comparison, and judgment, refined through years of experience. He has learned to distinguish between what merely catches the eye and what endures. His seeking is not desperate. It is disciplined. He seeks fine pearls. This detail carries weight. Pearls are not acquired without patience. They are drawn from depth, formed slowly, shaped by pressure hidden from view. The merchant knows this. He does not expect immediacy. He is willing to pass over many in order to wait for what surpasses them all. The gathered ones recognize this kind of seeking. It belongs to those who have learned restraint, to those who refuse to settle too quickly, to those who have been disappointed enough times to recognize that not every promise fulfills what it suggests. The merchant's search is not driven by lack alone, but by hope sharpened through experience. He has seen many pearls. Some were beautiful, some flawed, some nearly sufficient. He weighed them carefully, knowing that resemblance is not equivalence. Near worth is not true worth. His discernment has been honed by long practice. He is not easily satisfied. The kingdom in this image does not despise such seeking. It does not condemn discernment or patience. It meets the merchant where he is, within his search, not outside it. Years spent looking have not been wasted. They have prepared him to recognize what finally stands before him. He finds one pearl of great value. The telling is restrained. No description lingers. The pearl is not adorned with adjectives beyond its worth. That restraint sharpens the moment. The merchant knows immediately what this pearl is. The search ends not because effort has ceased, but because fulfillment has arrived. Recognition here is quieter than in the field. There is no interruption, no sudden stumble. There is clarity, deep and steady. The merchant's eye rests, not because curiosity has been satisfied, but because longing has found its object. What he has sought him in return. The gathered ones feel the difference between this and the previous parable. Some recognize themselves more clearly here. Their lives have been shaped not by accident, but by intention. They have questioned, compared, waited. They have refused easy answers. The kingdom does not rebuke this posture. It completes it. The merchant does not hesitate. He goes and sells all that he has. The action mirrors the man in the field, but the path to it has been different. Here, the surrender is not impulsive. It is the culmination of years of evaluation. Everything he possesses has already been weighed against what he now holds. The decision is total because the discernment has been thorough. The gathered ones feel the inevitability of this moment. When seeking has been honest, recognition carries authority. The merchant does not bargain with himself. He does not preserve a portion of his former life out of sentiment. The pearl has redefined value entirely. This challenges those who imagine that faithfulness must always feel sudden or dramatic. Sometimes it arrives quietly, after long perseverance. Sometimes surrender feels less like loss and more like arrival. The parable honors this, without ranking one path above another. The merchant's past is not erased by his choice. It is gathered into it. His experience, his discipline, his patience, all of it finds its purpose in this moment. The kingdom, in this telling, does not nullify the long road. It reveals why it was walked. The pearl is singular. This matters. It is not one among many. It does not share space with competitors. The merchant's loyalty is no longer divided. The search that once defined him now rests in possession that defines him anew. Some listening feel a deep ache at this point. They recognize how scattered their desires have been, how many near satisfactions have held them in motion without rest. Others feel hope stir, sensing that their long searching may not be in vain. The parable does not guarantee outcome. It does not promise that every search will end in recognition. It simply reveals that when true worth is found, it claims the whole life, without coercion. The pearl does not glitter publicly. It is not displayed as proof. Its value is known to the one who has discerned it. Others may not understand the exchange. They may see only loss. The merchant does not explain himself. He does not need to. His joy does not depend on being understood. The gathered ones feel the weight of this quiet conviction. Recognition that comes through seeking carries a steadiness that does not require affirmation. It does not argue, it rests. The kingdom, as it is being revealed, does not favor accident over intention, or intention over accident. It meets both. It speaks to those who stumble upon it, and to those who pursue it with patience. What matters is not how it is found, but how it is held. The silence that follows is different again. It is not sharp, as with sudden discovery, nor charged with cost alone. It is full, like something long awaited finally present. The merchant stands in the imagination with the pearl secured. The search is finished. The movement has found its rest, and within that rest, the gathered ones sense that the kingdom has drawn nearer still, not as mystery or interruption, but as fulfillment, calling each life to reckon honestly with what it has sought and what it is willing to release. The stillness that follows is not empty. It is filled with the weight of seeking that has come to rest. The gathered ones feel it differently now than before. Earlier, silence carried questions. Now it carries recognition, not recognition fully formed, but recognition approaching, like something just beyond the edge of articulation. Two paths have been laid beside one another. One stumbled upon treasure without seeking it. One searched long and carefully before finding what surpassed all others. Neither path is corrected. Neither is elevated above the other. The kingdom, as it has been revealed, does not belong to one temperament alone. It meets those who wander faithfully through ordinary ground, and it meets those who spend years refining their desire. What binds these paths together is not method, but response. Both men, once they see, act without hesitation, not because they are compelled, but because clarity has removed alternatives. The kingdom does not argue its worth. It reveals it, and revelation makes decision unavoidable. The gathered ones sense that this is the hinge on which everything turns. Before recognition, patience governs. Growth unfolds unseen. Waiting forms character. Seeking sharpens sight. But after recognition, waiting gives way to alignment. Life rearranges itself not gradually, but decisively. The parables have moved them to this edge without command. Some feel exposed here. They realize how often they have delayed response under the name of discernment, how often they have mistaken caution for wisdom. The stories do not accuse, but they do not comfort falsely. Recognition, once given, cannot be postponed indefinitely without consequence. Others feel relief. They have carried longing, without knowing whether it had an object. The parables have named that longing, without mocking it. They have affirmed that desire, when patiently held, is not weakness, but preparation. The kingdom in these tellings does not shame slowness before recognition. It honors it, but it does not bless hesitation after clarity. When value is revealed, loyalty follows, or fractures. This distinction settles heavily among them. He does not press it further. He does not draw lines or issue warnings. He trusts the weight of what has already been said. The kingdom does not need reinforcement. It needs space to be reckoned with honestly. The crowd remains attentive, aware that something fundamental has shifted. Faith has not been presented as belief alone, nor as moral effort. It has been shown as valuation. What one treasures governs everything else: time, energy, allegiance, risk. This understanding strips away ornament. It leaves little room for illusion. A man near the back lowers his gaze, thinking of the many things he has called essential. A woman nearer the center lifts her head slightly, feeling a long, unnamed desire finally given shape. A younger listener feels both fear and hope rise together, sensing that life may not need to be as scattered as it has been. The kingdom has not been described as additive. It does not join a collection of commitments. It replaces the center. Everything else reorients around it or falls away. This is not framed as loss, but as coherence. Fragmentation ends where true worth is known. The air feels dense with attention. No one interrupts. No one asks for explanation. The stories have moved beyond explanation into recognition. What remains is not instruction, but interior reckoning. He allows this to stand, knowing that reckoning cannot be rushed. Decisions made too quickly often collapse, yet recognition left unaddressed also corrodes. The kingdom presses gently but firmly toward honesty. What do you treasure? What governs your seeking? What would you release if clarity arrived? These questions are not spoken aloud. They rise naturally from the parables themselves. The gathered ones feel them settle inward, persistent and quiet. The world around them remains unchanged. People continue their lives elsewhere, unaware of the weight pressing into this moment. The field still looks like any other field. Pearls still look like merchandise to most eyes. Nothing external confirms what has been revealed. And yet, for those who have heard, the center has shifted. The kingdom has been shown not as distant promise, but as present worth, hidden, patient, transformative, and decisive once known. It does not require persuasion. It requires recognition. The silence holds again, not as pause, but as space for what must follow. The parables have not told them what to do. They have told them what is. And with it, that truth, the gathered ones remain, aware that something has been placed before them that cannot be neutralized. What they will do with it will unfold beyond this moment, in choices shaped quietly but irrevocably by what they now know. The silence does not resolve what has been placed before them. It steadies it. What has been named now waits, not for explanation, but for endurance. The kingdom has been revealed through growth, through hidden change, through sudden recognition and long pursuit. Yet it has not been gathered into a single meaning. It remains expansive, resistant to being held too tightly. Some among the gathered sense a quiet strain beginning to show. They are not confused, but they are pressed. The parables have stripped away easy categories. They have refused to leave faith in the realm of thought alone. What has been spoken has weight, and weight must be carried. Understanding, they begin to see, is not evenly distributed. Some hear and feel recognition spark immediately. Others feel only the outline of something they cannot yet grasp. This difference does not reflect intelligence or effort. It reflects readiness. The kingdom does not distribute insight according to fairness as humans measure it. It gives according to capacity formed over time. This unsettles those who believe understanding should be immediate and equal. They have learned to trust clarity that can be articulated quickly. The kingdom resists this. It does not flatten itself for convenience. It unfolds according to depth, not speed. The gathered ones sense that hearing alone is not the same as receiving. The stories have been heard by all, but reception varies, not because the words are unclear, but because soil differs. Some hearts are already broken open by waiting and seeking. Others remain guarded, not by refusal, but by habit. This is not condemnation, it is reality. Fields do not become receptive by command. Soil is prepared through seasons, through exposure, through the slow breaking down of what once resisted penetration. The kingdom, in every image offered, honors process over performance. Those listening begin to feel the implications of this. They cannot force understanding into themselves or others. They cannot accelerate what requires formation. The only faithful posture is honesty about where one is able to receive and where one is not. Some feel relief at this. They have been burdened by the expectation to grasp everything at once. The parables release them from that demand. Others feel frustration. They want clarity now, not later. The kingdom does not bend to impatience. The stories have not been given to entertain or obscure. They have been given to reveal what can be received and to expose what resists reception. The kingdom does not hide itself arbitrarily. It reveals itself in ways that protect what is still forming. This protection matters. What is tender cannot withstand harsh exposure. Seed breaks if handled too roughly. Dough collapses if rushed. Treasure is lost if claimed without cost. Pearls are missed by those unwilling to look closely. The kingdom reveals itself in ways that require attentiveness rather than force. Some in the crowd recognize that they have often demanded answers rather than allowed themselves to be shaped. They have wanted conclusions without formation. The parables gently deny this path. They insist that understanding is something one grows into, not something one seizes. The gathered ones feel the humility required here. Faith is no longer framed as mastery of ideas. It is framed as willingness to be worked upon, to be planted, leavened, reshaped, reordered. This humility is difficult. It requires relinquishing the need to appear knowledgeable. It requires patience with one's own incompleteness. It requires trust that what has been planted will emerge in time without being pried open prematurely. The kingdom, as it has been revealed, does not shame incomprehension. It warns against hardness. There is a difference. Not understanding yet is not failure. Closing oneself to understanding is. This distinction settles slowly. Some feel their defensiveness soften. Others become aware of how tightly they have held their interpretations, not out of conviction, but out of fear of uncertainty. The parables invite them into a different posture, one that values openness over certainty. The world beyond the gathering remains unchanged. Voices rise and fall elsewhere. Work continues. Life does not pause for revelation. This does not diminish what has been given. It locates it. The kingdom does not interrupt reality. It reorients those who can receive it within reality. Those who hear without receiving are not excluded. They remain near. The door has not closed. The seed has been scattered broadly. Growth will occur where it can. The kingdom is patient. This patience is not passive. It is deliberate. It trusts time and truth to work together. What cannot yet be received will remain until conditions change. Nothing is wasted. The gathered ones begin to sense that the parables themselves are doing more than teaching. They are sorting, not people into categories of worth, but responses into postures of openness or resistance. This sorting is not final, it is dynamic. Soil changes, hearts soften, fields are prepared. The kingdom does not despair over slow beginnings. Those who have received something now carry responsibility, not superiority. Insight is not given for elevation, it is given for stewardship. What is understood must be held carefully, not wielded. This understanding deepens the seriousness of what has been heard. Knowledge of the kingdom is not power over others, it is participation in something that must be protected through humility. The silence returns, not empty, but weighted with this recognition. The parables have not explained everything. They have done something more demanding. They have revealed how understanding itself must be approached. The gathered ones remain, sensing that they are not being measured by what they can repeat, but by what they are willing to allow to take root. The kingdom continues its quiet work, revealing where there is readiness, withholding where there is not, always patient, always near. And within that work, the parables stand, not as riddles to be solved, but as invitations to be inhabited, asking each listener not what they know, but how they are willing to receive. What has been revealed now presses toward decision, though not in the form the gathered ones might expect. There is no call shouted across the crowd, no demand for immediate response. Instead, the weight of what has been heard begins to sort itself within each listener, quietly and unmistakably, according to what they are prepared to release and what they are determined to keep. The kingdom, as it has been spoken of, does not arrive as suggestion. It arrives as claim. Not a claim enforced by power, but one made by worth. The seed did not argue with the soil. The leaven did not negotiate with the flour. The treasure did not bargain for partial allegiance. The pearl did not share its value with rivals. Each image has pointed toward the same truth. When something of true worth is encountered, neutrality becomes impossible. Some among the gathered feel this sharpen into clarity. They realize that their hesitation has not been due to lack of understanding, but to reluctance. They have seen enough. What remains is whether they are willing to let what they have seen rearrange their lives. The kingdom, in this moment, feels close enough to demand honesty. Others feel a different pressure. They are not resisting the kingdom itself, but the finality implied by it. To release everything else, to reorder one's life around a single center, feels like erasure. They fear losing themselves in the exchange. The parables do not dismiss this fear. They answer it indirectly, by showing that identity is not destroyed by clarity, but gathered into it. The man who found the treasure did not lose himself when he sold all he had. He found coherence. The merchant who secured the pearl did not abandon his life's work. He fulfilled it. The kingdom, as it has been revealed, does not hollow a person out. It gives shape where there was fragmentation. This distinction settles slowly. What is relinquished is not what is essential, but what has been mistaken for it. The letting go is not annihilation. It is refinement. The kingdom does not ask for loss as proof. It produces release as consequence. The gathered ones sense that this reframes sacrifice entirely. Sacrifice is no longer framed as deprivation, endured for reward later. It is presented as the natural shedding of what no longer fits once true value is known. The burden is not in the surrender, but in the clinging that precedes it. This recognition is unsettling. It removes the comfort of seeing oneself as heroically faithful through loss. It suggests instead that faithfulness may feel lighter than expected seeing once clarity arrives. The parables do not romanticize struggle. They quietly undermine it. Some resist this still. They have built their sense of righteousness around endurance and effort. A kingdom that replaces strain with coherence threatens familiar narratives of worth. The stories do not accommodate this resistance. They simply stand. The kingdom does not require suffering to validate commitment. It requires alignment. This alignment is not uniform. It looks different in each life. The parables have not prescribed specific actions or outcomes. They have revealed a principle. Whatever competes with the kingdom's claim will eventually be released if the kingdom is truly recognized as supreme. This release does not happen all at once for everyone. Some respond quickly, others slowly. The kingdom does not rush them, but it does not lower its claim to make delay comfortable. It remains what it is. The gathered ones begin to understand that the decision the kingdom presses toward is not primarily external. It is interior. It is the quiet recentering of allegiance. What do you trust to define your life? What do you allow to govern your choices? What are you unwilling to release, even if something greater stands before you? These questions are not spoken aloud. They rise naturally from the parables themselves. The kingdom has not interrogated them. It has revealed itself and allowed truth to do the interrogating. Some feel exposed, not before others, but before themselves. They recognize the ways they have delayed surrender by naming it discernment. Others feel steadied, sensing that their long-held convictions may finally have a center strong enough to hold them. The world around the gathering continues as it always has. People move through their days unaware of the quiet reckoning taking place here. This contrast sharpens the moment. The kingdom does not interrupt daily life with spectacle. It presses into it with decision. Those who will leave this place unchanged will do so not because nothing was offered, but because they were not ready to receive it. Those who will leave changed may not yet know how that change will unfold. Both outcomes are held without judgment. The kingdom is not diminished by refusal. It is not strengthened by acceptance. It remains what it is. What changes is the alignment of those who encounter it. The gathered ones sense that something irreversible has been placed before them. Not a command, not a demand, but a reality that will continue to press against their lives, whether acknowledged or not. He does not force the moment closed. He allows it to remain open, knowing that true decisions often mature in silence rather than declaration. The kingdom does not fear time. It trusts it. The parables have led them here, to a place where clarity meets freedom. Nothing is compelled. Everything is revealed. And within that revelation, each listener now stands at a threshold, not marked by ceremony, but by truth, aware that whatever they choose to center their lives upon will shape everything that follows. What has been placed before them does not demand resolution in this moment. It settles instead into the deeper places, where decisions are formed slowly, often without words. The kingdom has been revealed as claim and value, as growth and transformation, as recognition that reorders allegiance. Now it rests, not retreating, but remaining near, allowing truth to press where it will. The gathered ones begin to sense a difference among themselves. Some feel clarity sharpen. They may not yet know what they will release or how their lives will be altered, but they know that a center has been named. The parables have given language to something long felt but never secured. The kingdom now stands as reference point, quietly judging all else by comparison. Others feel only disturbance, not confusion, but resistance. They sense the weight of what has been revealed and find themselves tightening around what they are unwilling to surrender. This resistance does not come from ignorance alone. It comes from fear, fear of loss, fear of exposure, fear of becoming someone they cannot yet imagine. The kingdom does not condemn this fear. It exposes it. What has been spoken has not divided the crowd into the faithful and the unfaithful. It has revealed postures, openness and guarding, trust and control. These postures exist in every heart to varying degrees. The parables have brought them into view. Understanding, it becomes clear, is not the same as agreement. One may hear clearly and still resist. One may grasp the truth of the kingdom and yet hesitate to align with it. The parables do not collapse this tension. They allow it to remain honest. Some among the gathered begin to realize that their struggle is not with the kingdom itself, but with the implications it carries. A kingdom that claims the center of life leaves little room for self-rule. It does not coexist comfortably with divided loyalty. It does not allow one to keep ultimate authority while giving assent from a distance. This realization is sobering. Others feel a different response emerge, relief rather than resistance. They have been weary of managing multiple centers of allegiance, of balancing competing claims on their lives. The idea of a single, unifying worth brings rest rather than threat. The kingdom promises coherence where there has been strain. Both responses exist side by side. The parables have not forced convergence. They have allowed truth to stand and reveal what each heart prefers. The silence among the gathered deepens, not because nothing more can be said, but because more words would obscure what must be faced inwardly. The kingdom has moved from explanation to exposure. What remains is reckoning. This reckoning is not dramatic. No one cries out. No one departs in visible protest. The moment is quieter than that. It unfolds in small internal shifts. Desires reevaluated, attachments examined, fears acknowledged rather than hidden. The world continues around them without interruption. Work resumes elsewhere. Paths are walked. Doors are opened and closed. Nothing in the environment marks the seriousness of what is occurring. The kingdom does not announce itself with outward signs. It reshapes lives quietly. Some listeners begin to understand that alignment with the kingdom will not remove them from the world they know. It will place them more fully within it, but differently oriented. Fields will still be worked. Bread will still be made. Goods will still be bought and sold. Yet the center around which these actions turn will be changed. This understanding steadies those who feared erasure. The kingdom does not dissolve ordinary life. It reorders it. Others remain uneasy. They sense that reordering will expose them to cost they cannot yet measure. The parables have not promised safety. They have promised truth. Growth, transformation, and recognition all carry consequence. The gathered ones sit with this knowledge. They begin to see that the kingdom is not something they will eventually arrive at after resolving all questions. It is something they are already encountering, even now, in the way their desires are being sifted. He does not intervene in this process. He does not direct attention back to himself. He allows the kingdom to do what it has been described as doing, working quietly, persistently, inevitably. Those who will walk away unchanged will not do so because nothing happened here. They will do so because they chose to keep their center where it was. Those who will walk away altered may not yet know how that alteration will take shape. They only know that something has shifted. The parables have not asked them to declare allegiance publicly. They have not demanded confession or vow. They have invited recognition, and allowed truth to expose preference. What follows will unfold beyond this gathering, in decisions made when no one else is watching. The kingdom remains present, not pressing, not withdrawing. It waits without anxiety. It trusts the work it has begun. The gathered ones remain in this tension, aware that what has been revealed cannot be undone. Even resistance confirms that something real has been encountered. Indifference would have been easier. The moment holds, heavy and honest. The parables have done their work. What remains is not instruction, but integrity, the willingness to live according to what one has seen. And within that willingness or refusal, the kingdom continues, unchanged, faithful, and near, shaping lives not by force but by truth that will not leave them alone. The moment stretches beyond speech, and in that stretching, the gathered ones begin to feel the shape of what will follow. Not immediately, not with clarity sharp enough to command action, but with the quiet certainty that something has been set in motion which will not simply dissolve when they return to their lives. Understanding now reveals itself as uneven. Some carry the weight of what has been heard with a steadiness that surprises them. They do not yet know what obedience will require, but they sense that it will not be optional. The kingdom has named itself as center, and everything else will either gather around it or fall away. This knowledge settles without panic. It feels inevitable rather than urgent. Others remain uncertain, not because the parables were obscure, but because clarity has arrived too close to home. They recognize the truth of what has been said and find themselves hesitating at its edge. The kingdom has not confused them. It has exposed the cost of agreement. They linger there, aware that delay is itself a kind of answer. The difference between these responses is not dramatic. It is subtle, almost invisible. No one is marked outwardly as understanding more or less. The sorting happens quietly, within the hidden places where loyalty is formed. This quiet sorting is not final. He has not closed the door on anyone. He has not drawn a line between those who belong and those who do not. The kingdom, as it has been revealed, does not rush to finalize outcomes. It allows time for truth to work itself deeper than impulse. Those who remain uncertain are not dismissed. They are held within patience. The kingdom does not fear hesitation born of honesty. It fears only hardness that refuses to be softened. Where questions remain open, growth is still possible. The gathered ones begin to sense that insight is not something possessed once and for all. It is something carried, tested, and either tended or neglected over time. What has been heard today will return to them later, in moments they do not expect. A field crossed again. Bread broken and shared. A transaction weighed carefully. A choice delayed, then made. The parables will surface then, not as stories remembered, but as realities recognized. This realization humbles those who thought understanding would be immediate and complete. It steadies those who feared they had not grasped enough. The kingdom does not require mastery. It requires honesty and openness to continued work. He does not summarize what has been said. He does not draw conclusions. He trusts the weight of the parables to remain intact without reinforcement. Truth that must be repeated constantly is not yet rooted. Truth that can stand quietly has taken hold. The gathered ones feel this restraint. It grants dignity to their response rather than managing it. They are not being instructed on how to feel. They are being trusted to reckon with what has been given. Some sense gratitude rise quietly, not toward the teaching alone, but toward the patience embedded within it. The kingdom has not rushed them. It has not embarrassed their slowness or demanded their certainty. It has revealed itself and allowed them to stand before it as they are. Others feel unease sharpen. They recognize how often they have relied on distance to avoid decision. Parables that enter daily life do not allow for distance. They follow one home. They resurface in ordinary moments. They ask again what was avoided earlier. The kingdom, in this way, does not end with the telling. It begins there. The silence deepens, not because there is nothing left to say, but because words would now interfere with what must unfold within each listener. The kingdom is not fragile. It does not need protection through explanation. It does not depend on enthusiasm or immediate compliance. It waits, not passively, but faithfully, like seed beneath soil, like leaven within dough, like treasure known and secured, like a pearl held after long searching. The kingdom waits because it knows what it is and what it will become. Those who will walk away carrying it will do so quietly. There will be no visible marker to distinguish them from those who do not. The kingdom does not brand its citizens outwardly. It reshapes them inwardly, and that reshaping reveals itself over time. Some will forget what was heard here, or believe they have. Yet moments will come when the parables return with unexpected clarity. The kingdom does not depend on memory alone. It works beneath it, pressing toward recognition when conditions allow. Others will remember vividly and yet resist alignment. Even this does not surprise the kingdom. It does not withdraw when resisted. It remains present, continuing its quiet work, waiting for the moment when resistance softens into openness. The gathered ones sit within this truth, aware that they are not being dismissed or released from responsibility. They are being entrusted with something that will require integrity rather than performance. The world around them continues, indifferent in appearance. Paths remain paths. Work remains work. Life moves forward. And yet, beneath this movement, another rhythm has been introduced, one that will measure success differently, define value differently, and call for faithfulness without spectacle. The kingdom has not asked them to declare allegiance aloud. It has asked them to see clearly. What follows will emerge not in words spoken here, but in choices made elsewhere. The moment holds a little longer, then begins to loosen, not because the weight has lifted, but because it has been transferred. What was spoken is now carried by those who heard it. The kingdom does not linger to be admired. It moves on with those willing to bear it. And as the gathered ones begin to sense that the time of hearing is drawing toward its close, they understand that the parables have not finished their work. They have only begun it. What has been given does not depart when the gathering begins to thin. It settles into the ordinary movements that follow, into steps taken without ceremony, into roads walked again with familiar weight beneath the feet. The kingdom has not concluded its work here. It has passed into keeping. Some turn back toward their homes, carrying little more than silence. Yet that silence is altered. It is no longer empty. It holds images that will not remain still. Seed breaking beneath soil, dough rising without witness, a field crossed and crossed again, a pearl held after long search. These images do not demand attention. They return when needed. Others linger a moment longer, not to hear more, but because leaving too quickly would feel like refusal. They sense that what has been revealed requires time, not discussion. The kingdom does not ask for immediate expression. It asks for faithfulness in what follows. No one is marked outwardly as changed. There is no visible division between those who have received and those who have not. The kingdom does not draw its boundaries in public view. It draws them quietly, within allegiance and desire, within what is released and what is guarded. Life resumes. Work continues. Bread is made. Fields are crossed. Nothing appears different, yet nothing is untouched. The seed has been planted. The leaven has been folded in. The treasure has been recognized. The pearl has been secured. What remains is time. Time for growth. Time for transformation. Time for recognition to mature into alignment. The kingdom does not hurry this process. It knows what it has placed within human lives. It trusts the work it has begun. And so it rests, not absent, not withdrawn, but near, moving quietly through ordinary days, shaping value, ordering love, and becoming visible only when faithfulness has done its slow, unseen work. The moment passes. The work continues.